Hello and welcome back, food lovers. So you're visiting Florence, undoubtedly the capital of Italy's Tuscany region. The history of the Tuscany region can be traced back to medieval times, and it influences the traditional specialties of Florentine and Tuscan cuisine. If you're wondering what the specialty foods of Florence are and what you must try while you are there, then look no further. Because in this video, we present to you the top 10 local foods to eat in Florence, Italy. At 10, we'll start off with the basics, and that's the local bread or Penne Toscano. Florentine bread is dense and has a thick crust. What you will notice about it when you try it is that it is missing a certain ingredient, and that is salt. It is said that the practice of not adding salt to bread dates back to medieval times, when a feud between the city and another town meant that salt supplies were cut off to Florence. Therefore, the local citizens had to make their bread without salt, and the practice continues to this day. However, Florentines will tell you that their food is so flavorful that you don't need to add anything else, or salt for that matter, to their bread. At 9, we have the regional pasta. There are many types of pasta that's regional to the Tuscany area, but we're going to recommend two types that you must try out. The first type is Pappardelle. Pappardelle is a long, wide, flat pasta that's usually served with a meat sauce or ragu. The most traditional ragu sauce is made of boar or cinghiali. Wild boar meat has a rich, luxurious flavor that pairs well with the pappardelle. When you're in a restaurant and you want to try this dish out, then ask for Pappardelle al cinghiali. The second type of pasta that you should try is Pichi. Pichi is a long hand-roll type pasta that's unique to the Tuscany region. It is thicker than spaghetti and also a bit chewy, which is why it is served in smaller portion sizes. It is also often paired with a ragu sauce, but can also be served with other types of sauces. The most traditional sauce to eat with Pichi is alioli. This is made with garlic, tomatoes, and chili peppers. If you want to order this in a restaurant, then ask for Pichi al alioli. At 8, we have gnocchi. The gnocchi in Florence is not to be missed, but here they serve it with gorgonzola cheese and truffles, which makes for a rich and decadent dish. Truffles are a valuable ingredient, and if you haven't tried them, then why not have them in Florence? Trattoria Zaza is one place to try gnocchi with truffles, and they have been serving their Florentine specialities since 1977, so they must be doing something right. At 7, we have Crostini. If you're wondering what a traditional Florentine starter would be, then we would recommend Crostini. Crostini, or antipasto toscano, is an appetizer plate with an assortment of patés, salsas, and vegetables on top of Tuscan bread. The most traditional topping is chicken liver pâté, and with this topping, it is known as crostini neri or black crostini. The way the chicken liver pâté is prepared is a speciality of the region. Chicken livers are cooked with vegetables and made smooth with the addition of butter, and capers and anchovies add a piquancy. At 6, we have another type of bread that's a speciality to the wider Tuscany region, and it's called schiacciata. Unlike Florentine table bread, which we had previously mentioned does not contain any salt, schiacciata is in fact quite flavorful because it is made with the addition of salt and the fabulous Tuscan olive oil. Schiacciata means to smash or press, referring to the process of making the bread by pressing down on the dough with the fingers before it is baked. The process produces a thin, flat bread, perfect for making Italian sandwiches or paninis. One of the most popular places in Florence that uses schiacciata bread to make their paninis is All'Antico Vinaio. This place is minutes away from Piazza della Signoria, where the replica of Michelangelo's David statue proudly stands. All'Antico Vinaio first opened in the 1960s and now serves up to 700 paninis a day. When ordering, you can choose your own fillings, or you can choose their best-selling sandwich, the favoloso. At 5 we have gelato. This might seem like an obvious choice, as it's almost impossible not to stumble upon a gelato shop on every busy street in Florence, but no list would be complete without it. Legend has it that a native of Florence, Bernardo Buontalenti, invented gelato to impress the ruling Medici family in the 16th century. Whether that's true or not, we'll leave it up to you to decide, but we're sure glad that somebody invented it. Gelato, the name for Italian ice cream, is different to American ice cream as it contains less air and less milk fat, making for a more intense flavor. Those of you who are more discerning gelato connoisseurs should seek out so-called artigianali shops, where the gelato is made on site rather than those that are made elsewhere and delivered to the shop. These shops would use better quality ingredients and produce the gelato in smaller batches. The gelato sold in these shops would be of a more natural color and presented in steel tins with metal covers. One that we'd recommend is Perché No, which has been open since 1939, as they offer a specialty flavor of the day and also have vegan options. At 4 we have Schiacciata alla Fiorentina. The original recipe a few hundred years ago was just a sweetened version of the flatbread that we had previously mentioned. It was eaten in February around carnival time, when people would hang on to the indulgences of life before Lent began. February was also the time when the pigs that families kept would be ready for slaughter, and so this sweetbread would have been made with lard. These days, the cake can be found in bakeries all year round, and cream and icing sugar has been substituted for the pig fat. At 3 we have Ribollita. This is a famous Tuscan dish, and its history can be traced back to the Middle Ages. Like most Tuscan cuisine, it has humble beginnings because it was cooked up by hard-working but poor families who worked for their feudal masters. It is said that the peasants, when clearing up their master's table, would take home scraps of leftover bread soaked in meat juices back to their home to add to their leftover soup from the previous day. Ribollita means reboiled, and its ingredients can vary, but it always contains bread, cannellini beans, and vegetables. At 2 we have trippa and lampredotto. These are both different parts of a cow's stomach, and eating offal has been Tuscan heritage for centuries. The stomach is cooked slowly with tomato, onion and parsley until it becomes tender and is served with either a spicy or green sauce. If you want a true Florentine food experience, then grab yourself a lampredotto or trippa sandwich from one of the many food stands or trippai found in the city's squares and street corners. These stands are used by both locals and tourists who want to grab a quick lunch before heading back to work or the next museum to visit. Before we let you know what the number one thing to eat in Florence is, let's give you a bonus and look at a couple of drinks to have in Florence. The Tuscany region is a wine region, and the Chianti mountain area just a few miles south of Florence gives its name to its most famous product, Chianti Wine. Chianti Wine is defined as containing at least 80% Sangiovese grapes grown in the Chianti region and is recognized by its rooster seal. If you don't like wine, you may be tempted by the classic cocktail, the Negroni, also said to have been invented in Florence. Perhaps you could have it as an aperitivo, which is a drink and some snacks that Italians like to have at the end of the day and just before dinner. At number 1 we have Bistecca alla Fiorentina. This is the dish that you should have when visiting the city and is unique to Florence. Bistecca alla Fiorentina is a beef steak, but not just any old steak. It is a T-bone steak that's 2 inches thick, or to put it another way, the width of 4 fingers. Restaurants serve it seared on the outside, but still rare on the inside. Due to the size of the steak, it is meant to be shared, so make sure that you bring others with you, as well as a big appetite. There are many restaurants in Florence that serve this city's most famous dish. If you have been to Florence before, perhaps you could leave a suggestion for a restaurant that you liked that serves bistecca alla Fiorentina. I'm sure that future guests of the city will appreciate it. Also, the regional food in Tuscany area is so wide and varied that it's been tricky to narrow it down to just 10. If you know of any other Florentine specialty foods that should not be missed, also leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, ciao my friends.